You know, it was actually just 3 weeks ago when I talked about how the Epic Games CEO wants to put the Epic Store on consoles, but he says that it is not worth a lawsuit. I think it's safe to say that the big reason behind that is just the simple fact that lawsuits, they take a lot of time, and of course, they cost a lot of money, so maybe it took Epic going through this huge lawsuit against Apple, against Google, for them to realize, even though they kind of won it, at least the Apple one, I know that it was pretty much a W. Maybe they still realized, it's just not worth the all of the legal fees, all of the costs, the time. It's just not worth it. Maybe it takes a big lawsuit like that to actually put things in perspective. Well, maybe Nintendo is actually going to go through the exact same thing, because you see, I'm sure you already know about this, but Nintendo is still in the process of suing Palworld. This is an ongoing case. They're alleging that Palworld has been, stealing their stuff. But what is new to me, this is something that just popped out yesterday, was this. Now, you see, this is not something that actually has to do with the lawsuit itself, but rather, this is a patent attorney from Japan. He definitely has some huge credibility, and he actually wrote an article that was posted on Yahoo Japan, and he's really reacting to the big post that Palworld made last month, where they said that, the case was still ongoing, but they were going to remove some assets with the game, and this was just to, keep the experience going for the fans. So yes, this attorney, Kiyoshi, he was just reacting to all of that, but there was one part that stuck out that a few people are talking about, and that is where he talks about the actual cost on Nintendo and how this whole thing, this whole lawsuit, it may not even be worth it for Nintendo. So this is the part where he says, a quote, "By the way, as I learned from this article, Nintendo is using a fair amount of lawyers from major law firms, including TMI, and Palworld is using a fair number of lawyers from major law firms such as Nishimura and Asahi. And considering that the amount of damages sought in the lawsuit is 10 million yen, I cannot help but think that Nintendo may not even be able to recoup their losses even if they win the case, although they may increase the amount claimed later on." So kind of a lot to unpack there, but mainly it looks like he has looked at the lawyers and the firms that are responsible for representing both sides, and they ain't cheap. I did a quick Google search of these law firms. I couldn't really find like an actual number of how much their hourly rate is. I'm sure it's not as cut and dry as that when it comes to big cases like this. I mean, who knows how many lawyers are working on this on both sides, but 10 million yen, that is apparently what Nintendo is asking for from Palworld in this case. Now, that may sound like a lot, but well, it actually turns out this is just about 70,000 US dollars. Yeah, the amount that Nintendo is asking from Palworld is like the amount, it's like a teacher's salary for 1 year. I was not expecting that. I looked up multiple articles and confirmed that, yes, it is between like 65 and 70k US dollars that they are asking for, apparently. And when you compare that to apparently how much Palworld has earned over the years now, it is actually insane. I mean, they have had a $410 million gross revenue, but then cutting out all of the costs of the employees and the software and all of that, they still profited 120 million out of this game. It's crazy to think that Nintendo was only asking for 70k, and that is where I come to what I believe is the fairly reasonable conclusion here, that it is probably about way more for Nintendo than just the day one, revenue they get from this. Yeah, the 70,000 US dollars is probably pretty meaningless to them. I'm sure there is a lot more they are also asking for. Like, I'm sure they're probably saying that Palworld, they need to either cease operations completely or maybe very heavily alter the gameplay so that it's not, similar to Pokemon. I think it's way more about that, taking this hit game and kind of claiming this to be the work of Pokemon, right? Like, I think it's even, the principle of it too. They want people to know that, this was Pokemon's idea, this was Nintendo's idea, and that the good times that you've had with Palworld, it was actually really Nintendo's creation. That is what I am getting out of this here, because at the end of the day, I do not think that Nintendo would go to all this trouble for just 70k. So yes, that is my conclusion. Obviously, I am not reading that from any, official Nintendo source. At at the end of the day, I don't know what Nintendo's actual motives are. That's just me thinking. Maybe it'll be more clear as we go forward to see what Nintendo's motives are. But yeah, for right now, it looks like the raw money amount that they are actually asking for is just 70,000 US dollars, and it sounds like it is probably very much not going to be worth it if we're just basing it on that.